And now I'm trying to share my screen here just to make sure that everybody knows what I'm talking about. Can everybody see the slides here?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, great. I hope you're ready. Now, first of all, let's talk about why here. Why do we have evaluation in our Toastmasters meeting? And I know when I ask this question, everybody, you may have some answers in your head. And now I would like to have a little interactive exercise here. So I have 4 choices. Okay, please take a moment to read it and type in the chat area. Which one or which ones do you think are the reasons why we evaluate a speaker? It doesn't have to be one choice, it can be many. It can be all, it can be none. So what do you think?
I think it should be all.
Okay. What about some other people's idea?
It is for speakers, evaluators, and the all audience. They will learn from the evaluation. It's for all.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Well, essentially, I make all this up. So I would agree that A, B, C, D, they are all the reasons why we need to do, why we evaluate speaker at the Toastmasters meeting. Well, D, that's kind of obvious. That's inherently essential part of the Toastmasters program. But because A and B and C, these are the benefits of the speakers and evaluators, and that's why the Toastmasters program has this part. Okay, what about, well, the A, speakers benefit here, evaluators benefits this way, and C, how do we understand C here? Speakers and evaluators are building rapport with each other. My understanding is that speakers and evaluators are not just exchanging information. The evaluators are not superior to the speakers. They are not there to show off how much they know. In my opinion, a good evaluator and a good evaluation should be supportive.
Mike, you are losing your voice.
Sorry? Hello? Can everybody hear me?
We cannot hear you. I cannot hear you.
I can hear perfectly. Perfectly.
I can hear you.
Perfectly.
Yes, I can hear you.
I can too.
Okay. So for whoever who's saying cannot hear me, please check your audio and maybe you log off and log back to the meeting. That will solve the problem. Okay, let me continue here. What I was trying to say is that evaluators are there who are interested in the growth of the speaker and are trying to help the speakers grow. So a lot of times when we give feedback on, for example, areas for improvement, we need to be especially be mindful of our language and how we can make the speakers open to our suggestions. And I will elaborate on that later. So now let's get into the meat of the workshop now. How do we do evaluation? And for this workshop, I divide the evaluation process into 4 different parts. They are before the speaker's giving the speech, while you're listening to the speech, during your evaluation, and after the evaluation. Now let's look at each part one by one. Before the speech. The evaluation starts before the speaker actually gives the speech. The evaluators are typically need to do 2 things before the speech. The first one is the evaluators need to be familiar with the speech objectives. So if the speaker is doing a speech on level 1 or level 2, maybe that's obvious for a lot of people, but when it comes to level 3 projects or level 4 projects, there are many electives. And as evaluator, you may not have done the project yourself. So you need to spend some time studying the objectives and make sure that you know what the speaker is trying to achieve, the ability the speaker is trying to build in the speech. And the next thing if you want to be a really good evaluator, is to talk about the concerns with the speaker beforehand. A lot of times what I find is that the speakers, they have their personal goals to achieve in addition to the speech objectives required by the project. So for example, today I'm going to evaluate Ingeborg's speech. I sent her an email and asked for to see if there's anything she would like me to focus on in addition to the speech objectives. So that way, once you have all these information, you can deliver your evaluation specifically to meet your speaker's need. Okay. So by the way, if you get evaluator, let's say right at the beginning of the meeting and you don't have time to talk about it, that's really sad, because every time, I believe in Toastmasters, every time we speak, it's a learning opportunity. So if you don't, for example, if you don't have your evaluator get in touch with you beforehand, and I hope you can be proactive if you're really taking the learning seriously, be proactive and reach out to your evaluator and talk about the objectives and concerns so that you make the most of the speaking opportunity you have at the meeting. Once you have done these two, then now let's talk about the second part. While you're listening to the speaker speaking, during the speech, what do you need to focus on? If you are new to evaluation, well, that's at least my experience, is that I find it's really hard. It's quite a stressful time because you have to listen carefully to what the speaker is speaking, and at the same time, you have to analyze the speech. What is good and what can be improved? So sometimes it can be really stressful. And I would have a list of the things that you can focus on in the speech to help you or to remind you of what to look for in the speech. The first two, they are obvious: the speech objectives, which you read it before, and the speaker's concerns. Hopefully you know while you are listening to the speech. And for some other general aspects of the speech, here are the few things that you can think about while listening. For example, structure. Is the structure easy to follow? Is it logical? The message. Is the message clear and well supported? What about the word choice? Are there any jargons that audience may not know? Are there any unexplained acronyms that make the speech harder to understand? For example, body language. Is the body language animated? Are the gestures natural to watch? What about vocal variety? The voice. Is there a good use of pauses, or pitch, or volume? What about the opening? Can it be more engaging? Is it capturing the audience attention right at the beginning? What about the transition between different points? Is it smooth transition, or it needs more connection? Or what about the humor? If there's any humor, any jokes in the speech, is it effective? Or better, is there any potential opportunities for humor in the speech? You see these, well, by the way, the list is not exhaustive. You can have many more aspects of the speech to focus on. But if you are new to evaluation, you obviously need to focus on the first two. But for the rest of the list here, you just pick 2 or 3. And you don't have to focus on everything because you only have 3 minutes for your evaluation. You don't have time to focus on everything here. Okay, so now we have different aspects of the speech I want to focus on. And while we're listening, I bet everybody will take notes, and you may have a lot of thoughts and ideas. So how do we actually organize it so that we can have a well-structured evaluation later? So there are probably many ways of taking notes, and this way is something that I find very useful. Let's say this is a piece of paper, and I mentally divide this piece of paper into 4 different parts. So I think everybody can see. Okay, it's not very. Okay, this way, everybody can see it clearly now. So you have four different parts. And everybody here, if you have ever done evaluations, you know that we need to comment on the positive things the speaker is doing, and we need to look for the area of improvement. okay? So I will organize this part as the positive, to organize the positive thoughts here, and this part to organize as the area for improvement. And while I'm listening to the speech, I will write down the details on the latter part, right part here, okay, whether it's positive or improvement. And at the end of the speech, I would summarize the different points, okay? Let's say I'm taking Bruce, for example. If Bruce is doing a speech today, and this is my notes for my evaluation notes for him. So let's say he is doing pretty well on the speech objective and body language and vocal variety. And I would get a plus sign there to remind myself that this is all the good things that Bruce is doing. Similarly, for the improvement, I'm just making this up. Let's say Bruce could have a stronger opening and a better structure. Then I'll have a minus sign here to remind me that this is the area for improvement of Bruce. Oh, by the way, while we're listening, a lot of times we don't know whether the notes we're taking, whether it's a positive or improvement. So it can be a lot messier than this, but this is the general idea that can give you some guidelines, okay? And this provides a kind of a very obvious visual to give the evaluation, and I'm gonna demonstrate that later as well. And if everybody here agrees that during the speech or during the evaluation itself is a speech, then any speech should have a beginning and body and a conclusion. So obviously the positive part and the improvement part is the body of the speech. Then we need to have the beginning. So this is what I call acknowledgement. Okay, and then we need to have a conclusion. And hopefully we offer some encouragement for the speaker. So this is the structure of my evaluation. And now I'm going to elaborate on each part one by one. But during the evaluation, let's first talk about the acknowledgement. So what is acknowledgement? Acknowledgement is something that acknowledges the speaker as a person, not necessarily about the speech. Let me give an example here. Let's say, for example, speaker is talking about sharing a very personal story that touches everybody. You may want to acknowledge the vulnerability that the speaker demonstrates throughout the meeting. If the speaker is sharing the passion and the dreams, so you may want to acknowledge the enthusiasm of the speaker. Or if the speaker, let's say it's a second language speaker, he or she is really shy in speaking, but they're doing a speech in English, you may want to acknowledge the bravery of the speaker. Or there are many other things that you can acknowledge. So what does acknowledgement do is to say something really positive about the speaker during the preparation or sort of the emotions demonstrated throughout the speech, so that the speaker are ready to hear your comments about his or her speech. So this is what I was used to serve at the beginning, which is acknowledgement. Then the next part is positive, how to deliver the positive aspects of or comments of the speech. I can give you an example here. I can say, Bruce, thank you so much for your speech. I really love your body language. Your vocal variety is fantastic, and your structure are marvelous. So great job. It's a perfect speech. Thank you for your speech. If this is what Bruce is hearing, that it's very positive, but it lacks something. It lacks details. Because when we talk about the body language is good, the vocal variety is good, but in what way, right? We need to provide specific details so that the speakers are actually aware what exactly he or she is doing well. So what is the specific details? So I have a formula for you. So 3 W's here is basically what works. You did this and you did that, okay? And that works very well because it makes the speech more effective. Let me give an example here. Let's say if I want to say Bruce is doing a really good job in terms of vocal variety, Okay, I could say that, Bruce, I really loved the vocal variety here. They are very effective, and they're very effective. For example, okay, please be specific. For example, when you are talking about this, when you're telling us the story and you are talking about your father, you actually lowered your voice and change your pitch to play the character of your father, right? You imitated your father's voice, and that worked very well, very effectively, because the change in your voice, the change in the pitch and the volume really added to the story, which really drew us into the story. If you could provide the specific details like that, then everybody, not only Bruce, everybody will know that next time if you want to tell the story which involves another person, then you can use the same trick or same tool to play which is playing the voice of that person to add to your story, to make your speech more effective. So this is what specific details can do. The next part is the improvement part. And the same thing, if you just say, Bruce, I think your opening could be better. If that's everything about improvement, then Bruce may wonder, how can it be better? In what way? If I were to do this all over again, what kind of things can I change to make it better immediately? So the same thing here. For improvement part, you need to be specific. You offer specifics as well. While you are doing this, language really plays a part in it, because for improvement, nobody likes other people tell us what to do. Okay? And if the evaluators are there really to help the speakers grow, then we really need to watch the language. We want to be supportive rather than judgmental. Let's see some examples here. So please do not use the following sentence here. You didn't, you should have, or you failed. It won't sound very well. Okay, it won't sound very well. Let's try it. So let's say, okay, the first one, Bruce, you didn't start the speech well. Second one, Bruce, you should have started a speech in a better way. The third one, Bruce, you failed to capture my attention at the beginning. How does that sound? Not very positive, right? Yeah, if it doesn't sound very positive, then the speakers get offended or even defensive. They are not ready to hear your suggestion. So instead, let's try the following. The first one, Bruce, I encourage you to reconsider your opening. If you could change, let's say, if you could rearrange the opening to have a story first and then the facts and figures, then that would be a lot better. Or second one, Bruce, your speech would have a better impact on me if you could have a story at the beginning. Or the third one, Bruce, you have one area of improvement here to consider. If your speech could have a story at the beginning, then it will be more effective. I think you already get the ideas. It doesn't have to follow the same sentence structure. Well, these are the things that I use very often. But just to let you know that there are certain words like should or failed you need to be really mindful if you want to use that in your evaluation. And language really matters here in order to be motivating and make these speakers open to your evaluation. Oh, it's already yellow, so I think I need to be quick here. So during the evaluation, next step is the conclusion. Okay, conclusion. A lot of people, especially during speech evaluation contest, they just say thank you so much for your speech, and it's not enough, because as conclusion you need to summarize all the things you said. So this is what I use. So to conclude, you did well on A and B and C aspects. If you could work on D and E, you can take your speech to the next level. And then encouragement part, you'll say something generally about the speech itself. For example, you love the story, you appreciate the bravery, you can see the potential within the speaker to be a better speaker, and you're looking forward to the next speeches. And this is the comprehensive, I believe, evaluation format. So let's do that. So Bruce, I really loved your story and appreciate the vulnerability you have in your speech. And your speech are really good in the following 3 aspects. And then I have 2 areas of improvement to offer you. So the first thing you did very well is you are meeting the speech objectives. Your body language is really effective because your vocal variety is really good. It works very well because now for the improvement, if you, the first one is the opening. Your speech will have a better impact on me if you could work on the opening a little bit better. The second one is the structure, blah, blah, blah. And to conclude, you did very well on meeting the speech objectives, body language, and vocal variety. And if you could work on the opening and the structure, and your speech will be a lot better. In all, that's a really great speech. I can tell you are a great storyteller. I'm looking forward to your next speech. So this is basically using the notes, and you just following your notes, and you create a well-structured evaluation. Now, very quickly, after you give the evaluation, there are 2 things you need to do here. So the first one, make sure you complete the evaluation form or resources for the speaker so that they have something to rely on and refer back to. And if you have time, please discuss with the speaker about your evaluation, because the speakers may not agree with everything that you said, or you, as an evaluator, you may have some misunderstanding of the speech, and the speakers want to clarify that with you. So make sure you have a little discussion with the speaker and to make sure that the learning actually happens. To summarize what we have talked about, why evaluation? What are the benefits of the evaluation? And the second is how to do evaluations. And we divide that into 4 different parts. Okay, this is what we have talked about today. And before I open up the floors for the question and answer periods, let me have a question. I have a question for you. And this is a question I get a lot. I get it from a lot of people while I'm doing the evaluation workshop here. A lot of times we hear a perfect speech. I just can't find any areas of improvement. Now the question is, how can I find area of improvement for the speaker? Any idea? Well, the thing is, Bruce, you want to say something?
Do you mean that one can answer this question, or you just?
Yeah, I'm just basically pausing to make people reflect on it, and we can discuss that. We can discuss that in a moment. So I don't have a quick fix for this question, but I do have an answer for you, and I believe this is the best answer. When you become a better speaker yourself, you will be able to find area of improvement for other speakers. So if you want to be a better evaluator, in my opinion, you need to be a better speaker before you become a better evaluator, because that's how we can spot the tiny little things that other people can do differently to make their speech a bit better. All right, this is everything I prepared. Now I open up the floor to the question and answer. And I hope you have some useful information to take away for your evaluation in the future. Now, any questions?
Yes, Mike.
Yeah.
How can we become a better speaker?
Well, that's a great question. And I think they are the experienced speakers in this club that can help me answer this question. To me, being a better speaker is always, well, first you do speeches, you practice. And the second is you always have something to work on in your speech. You just do the speech for the sake of doing it. You do the speech because you have very specific things you want to work on. For example, you want to work on your humor, you want to work on your structure, you want to whatever you want to work on. You always have a goal and you seek for feedback. You seek for feedback. Like what I did, for example, here, I asked Bruce to evaluate my evaluation feedback so that I know how to deliver a better workshop next time. So this is something that I do constantly and hope everybody is doing that as well, because over time, once we accumulate those little things, those positive things, those things that we achieved, that's how we become a better speaker.
Also, Mike, can I add?
Sure.
One
Yeah,
way to become a better speaker is also to look at contestants' videos. You know, people that have the first place, second place, third place. There's always a video of their speech. Sometimes they criticize themselves, and that is a good way to learn also.
Yeah, thanks for adding that on. Yeah, Ingabert, thanks. Yeah, I agree. You also you learn from the best, right? You watch those good speakers and see how they deliver speeches. Any other question?
I have a question.
Sure,
Mike.
go ahead. Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you just list the format for the evaluation, like acknowledgement or positive improvement. Before the evaluation, will you list all the areas there, and you just put plus or a dash there, and then you put some details in each items under each item, or you just do it on the spot?
I see. That's a really good question. When I think I changed it over the years. Initially, I was not very familiar with all the different aspects, so I actually put those keywords there. Well, the structure, the body language, the eye contact, blah blah blah. I put it there on the corner of the notes. But now, when I'm more and more familiar with the aspects, I just go with I just do on the spot. So it depends on your familiarity of the different aspects of the speech, I guess. So if you really want a reminder while listening to the speech, then you can have those things there as a cue for you to focus on. But if you're really experienced like a canon, you probably don't need to do that. Yeah. It depends on you. And again, like I said, what I provided here is just a format for you. It doesn't have to be exactly like that. You can just take that and make small tweaks here and there to make it to make what works best for you. Because in the end, you want to take something out of this, right? You want to make whatever tool I provided useful for you. So here's what I have. So you take it and make your own.
And I have another question still for that one. And if you just want to put something good for the speaker,
yeah,
how can you identify those items, like the positive or improvement? How can you just the speech is going on, you will just do it after the speech or at the spot? Just like, okay, that's speaking, I will just write down all the positive points here and the improvements here, then, or after the speech, you will just reorganize your evaluation.
I would reorganize the evaluation after the speech. Yeah. So while you're taking some notes, for example, you're taking down some key points of the speakers. You don't really know if it's positive or improvement, right? It has to be afterwards. Then you reflect on the speech. Then you know if it's done well or if this part can be improved. So I would organize that, reorganize it after the speech.
Okay. And usually, how long does it take for you to finish the evaluation after, and also another question is that how many points for positive or improvement do you note down each time so that you can make sure you have sufficient materials for your evaluation?
Well, that's a good question. First, to answer your first question very quickly here, I usually take just a few minutes, like 5 minutes, because I try to constrain myself within the 5 minutes because that's how the evaluation contest constrains us. We only have 5 minutes to finish everything for on the note here. And to answer your second question, it's actually a very good question. I would usually go with three good things and then 1 or 2 areas of improvement. I usually don't try to focus more on the positive rather than the negative because you want to be motivating for the speakers so that they don't get overwhelmed with the different with the many number of the areas of improvements. And so I usually, at least it's just 3 versus 3 or 3 versus 1, 3 versus 2. I never have more points of the areas of improvement than the positive comments. Well, it also depends on the time you have here. You only have 3 minutes, so you can just think about in 3 minutes how many points you can deliver. So so it depends on you. So it's how fast you speak and all of that. I think it's already on red card, so I'm going over time here. So if you have more questions, feel free to put in the chat, or I'll have my email there. You can email me as well. So now I would like to turn the lectern back to Mr. Toastmaster.